Chapter 1. A glimpse across the street. In the sleepy small town, the air carried the gentle hum of summer. The sun bathed everything in a golden glow, casting long shadows that danced lazily across the cobblestone streets. Chris, a young man with an earnest face and hopeful eyes, ambled along the familiar paths. His heart beat in rhythm with the town's pulse, a steady thrum that had guided him through the years. He paused for a moment in front of a quaint little bookshop, its windows adorned with vintage posters and the promise of stories yet untold. Chris had always found solace in the world of books, their pages offering escapes into lands of adventure and romance. Today, however, something beyond the stories caught his eye. Across the street, a figure appeared, graceful and serene. Julia moved with a quiet elegance that seemed to captivate the very essence of the town itself. She wore a simple summer dress, the fabric swaying with the breeze, hinting at a world of its own with every step she took. Her hair, a cascade of rich auburn, caught the sunlight in a way that made it shimmer like polished bronze. Chris felt his heart quicken, a strange yet undeniable sensation that pulled his gaze toward her. He watched as she approached the florist, her delicate fingers brushing against the petals of sunflowers that stood tall and proud. Her lips curled into a gentle smile, a moment of connection with the vibrant blooms that seemed to mirror the brightness in her eyes. Time slowed, and the world around Chris seemed to fade into a soft blur. The sound of rustling leaves, the distant laughter of children playing, and the clatter of a passing bicycle all faded into the background, leaving only Julia at the center of his focus. Her presence was a melody, an unspoken song that played just for him. As she continued down the street, Chris remained rooted in place, his mind painting scenes of possibilities, dreams that had taken root in the soil of his imagination. She was a stranger, yet in her, he saw a story waiting to unfold, a narrative that intertwined with his own in ways he could not yet comprehend. The afternoon sun continued its descent, casting a warm glow that heralded the approach of evening. Chris finally stirred from his reverie, his gaze lingering on the path Julia had taken. A gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers, mingling with the aroma of fresh-baked bread from the bakery nearby. He turned and resumed his walk, but the world felt different now. Every corner of the town held a new significance, every face an untold story. Chris carried the image of Julia with him, her presence etched in his thoughts like the pages of an unwritten book. As he walked, the town embraced him, its familiar sights and sounds offering comfort and promise. And in the distance, where the sun dipped below the horizon, Chris felt the stirrings of hope, a hope that this chance encounter was the beginning of something beautiful. With each step, he whispered a silent vow to himself, a promise to discover the story behind the girl who had captured his heart with a single glance across the street. And so, the first chapter of their journey began, woven into the tapestry of the town's history, a tale of connection and possibility waiting to be told. Chapter 2. The Accidental Meeting. The morning sun cast a soft light over the town, painting the buildings in hues of pastel pinks and oranges. Chris awoke with a sense of anticipation thrumming through his veins, the memory of the previous day's encounter with Julia lingering in his mind like a sweet melody. He felt an inexplicable pull, a desire to see her again, to know more about the girl who had unknowingly captivated his thoughts. With a sense of purpose, Chris prepared for the day, choosing a simple outfit that spoke of casual elegance. He left his modest apartment, stepping into the world with renewed vigor. The streets, lined with charming shops and bustling cafes, were already alive with activity. Familiar faces greeted him with friendly nods and smiles, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Chris found himself wandering toward the town square, a hub of life and energy where the community gathered. It was a place where laughter mingled with the scent of fresh coffee and baked goods, where artists displayed their works and musicians filled the air with melodies that spoke of dreams and aspirations. As he strolled through the square, his eyes scanned the crowd, searching for a glimpse of Julia's auburn hair. His heart beat a little faster at the thought of seeing her again, of perhaps sharing another fleeting moment that would keep her vivid in his mind. Near the fountain, where water cascaded in graceful arcs, Chris paused, captivated by a display of paintings that depicted scenes of the town in vibrant colors. As he admired the artwork, a soft rustle beside him drew his attention. There she was, Julia, her eyes reflecting the sky's azure hue, standing just a few feet away. Chris felt a rush of warmth, his heart skipping a beat at the sight of her. She seemed equally absorbed by the paintings, her gaze thoughtful and contemplative. He watched as she tilted her head slightly, a gesture that suggested she was lost in the stories the paintings told. Caught in a moment of serendipity, Chris shifted his position slightly, hoping to catch her attention without intruding upon her reverie. His subtle movement caused a gentle collision between them, a slight brush of shoulders that sent a spark of electricity through him. Julia turned, her expression shifting from surprise to a soft smile as she met his gaze. Her eyes, filled with a warmth that seemed to reach into his soul, held a silent understanding of the moment they shared. It was a meeting of paths, an unspoken acknowledgement of their presence in each other's world. Chris, feeling the heat rise in his cheeks, offered a small nod, an attempt to convey the words he couldn't quite speak. Julia returned the gesture, her eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and curiosity. There was a grace about her, a natural ease that made him feel as if they were old friends sharing a secret in the heart of the bustling square. The world around them continued its dance, children laughing as they chased bubbles, the clinking of cups in the nearby cafe, and the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Yet, in that brief encounter, it felt as though time had paused, allowing them a moment to simply be, to exist in a shared silence that spoke volumes. Chris lingered for a moment longer, committing every detail of her presence to memory. The curve of her smile, the way her hair caught the light, and the kindness in her eyes. Then, with a final nod, he stepped away, giving her the space to continue her exploration. As he walked through the square, a newfound sense of connection settled within him. He realized that their accidental meeting was not merely a chance occurrence, but a weaving of their lives into the same tapestry. It was a moment that promised more, a beginning rather than an end. Chris continued his day, the world around him now painted with colors more vivid than before. The promise of possibility lingered in the air, a gentle reminder that sometimes the universe conspires to bring people together in the most unexpected ways. And so, he carried the memory of their encounter with him, a quiet hope nestled within his heart, ready to blossom into something beautiful. Chapter 3: A Summer of Smiles. The sun climbed higher into the sky, casting a warm embrace over the small town. The vibrant colors of summer were in full bloom, painting the landscape with a palette of greens and golds. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly cut grass. It was a season of life, a time when the world seemed to smile with each passing day. Chris felt this warmth resonate within him as he stepped out onto the bustling streets. There was an unmistakable spring in his step, a lightness that came from the memory of his recent encounters with Julia. He carried the image of her smile with him, a beacon of joy that brightened his path and filled his heart with anticipation. As he wandered through the town, he marveled at the simple beauty of the world around him. The shops were alive with activity, their doors open to welcome patrons seeking treasures both new and familiar. The sound of laughter echoed from the park, where children chased each other in games of make-believe, their joy infectious and pure. Chris found himself drawn to the heart of the community, the local park, a haven of greenery and tranquility. It was a place where people gathered to bask in the sun, to share stories and picnics on checkered blankets, and to lose themselves in the pages of books beneath the shade of ancient trees. He settled onto a bench, the wood worn smooth by countless visitors who had come before him. As he sat, he allowed the world to unfold around him, watching as families played and friends gathered in the spirit of togetherness. The park was a tapestry of life, each thread woven with care and laughter. And there, amidst the vibrant tapestry, was Julia. She moved with the grace of a dancer, her steps light and carefree as she wandered through the park. She carried a basket, the fabric woven with intricate patterns, filled with fresh fruit and homemade treats. Her presence was a gentle breeze, a soft touch that seemed to awaken the senses and invite the world to share in her joy. Chris watched as she spread a blanket beneath a sprawling oak tree, its branches offering a canopy of dappled sunlight. She arranged the contents of her basket with care, each item a piece of the day's celebration. Her movements were deliberate, yet effortless, as if guided by an unseen rhythm that made every gesture a dance. As she settled onto the blanket, her eyes swept across the park, taking in the scene with a serene contentment. Chris felt a magnetic pull, a desire to be a part of the moment she had created, to share in the simple happiness that radiated from her like the sun's warm embrace. He remained on the bench, allowing himself the luxury of observation, feeling as though he was privy to a private performance, a symphony of life and light that played just for him. Julia, oblivious to his watchful gaze, continued to enjoy her day, her laughter carried on the breeze like a melody that lingered in the air. The afternoon unfolded in a gentle procession of moments: children's laughter, the rustle of leaves, and the distant hum of a radio playing tunes from the 70s, its notes weaving through the park like a forgotten memory. Chris let these sounds wash over him, each one a note in the symphony of summer. As the sun began its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Chris rose from the bench, feeling a sense of peace settle within him. He knew that today was but a chapter in a larger story, a tale of connection and discovery that was unfolding with every passing day. He left the park with a heart full of hope, carrying the memory of Julia's laughter and the warmth of her presence with him. The world around him felt alive with possibility, and he embraced the promise of tomorrow with open arms, ready to see where the path would lead. With each step, Chris whispered a silent vow to himself, a promise to cherish the moments that mattered, to seek out the beauty in the ordinary, and to hold on to the smiles that summer had gifted him. And so, he ventured into the evening, his heart light and his spirit free, knowing that the best stories were those written in the language of the heart. Chapter 4: Whispers of the Heart. The quiet rhythm of life continued in the small town, where each day unfolded like the turning of a page in an old, beloved book. The summer sun cast its warm embrace over the cobblestone streets and the quaint houses with their flower-laden gardens. It was a season of growth and change, where the whispers of the heart seemed to echo in every corner. Chris awoke to the sound of birds singing outside his window, their cheerful melodies inviting him to embrace the new day. He lay in bed for a moment, feeling the soft rays of sunlight streaming through the curtains and warming his face. It was in these quiet moments that he allowed himself to reflect on the past few weeks, on the chance encounters with Julia that had sparked something deep within him. His thoughts drifted to her, the girl with the auburn hair and the gentle smile that seemed to speak directly to his soul. He thought of the way her presence had transformed the ordinary into something extraordinary, how her laughter had lingered in the air long after she had gone. There was a connection between them, an invisible thread that pulled him toward her with an undeniable force. Determined to explore this newfound connection, Chris rose from his bed and prepared for the day. He chose his clothes with care, selecting a shirt that spoke of summer days and the promise of adventure. As he left his apartment, he felt a sense of purpose guiding his steps, a desire to seek out the moments that would weave their lives together. The town was alive with the bustle of market day, the streets lined with stalls offering fresh produce, handmade crafts, and the scent of warm pastries wafting through the air. Chris moved through the crowd, greeting familiar faces with nods and smiles, but his heart was elsewhere, his thoughts filled with anticipation. It was amidst the colorful tapestry of the market that he saw her. Julia stood by a stall laden with vibrant bouquets of flowers, her fingers brushing gently against the petals as she considered her choices. She wore a light summer dress that danced in the breeze, her hair cascading over her shoulders like a river of molten copper. Chris felt his heart skip a beat at the sight of her, the familiar rush of warmth spreading through him. He hesitated for a moment, unsure of whether to approach her or simply admire her from afar. But the pull was too strong, and he found himself drawn to her side as if guided by an invisible force. As he neared, Julia turned slightly, her eyes meeting his with a look of recognition that sent a thrill through his veins. There was a moment of shared understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had formed between them without the need for words. Chris smiled, hoping to convey the depth of his feelings in that simple gesture. Julia returned his smile, her eyes sparkling with a warmth that seemed to light up the world around her. It was a moment of connection, a shared heartbeat that echoed in the space between them. Together, they wandered through the market, exploring the stalls and sharing in the joy of discovery. Chris watched as Julia admired a collection of handcrafted jewelry, her fingers tracing the intricate designs with a sense of wonder. He marveled at her ability to find beauty in the smallest details, her appreciation for the artistry that surrounded them. The afternoon passed in a gentle rhythm, a dance of two souls moving in harmony with the world around them. They paused by the riverbank, where the water glistened in the sunlight and the gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. It was a moment of tranquility, a shared silence that spoke of understanding and acceptance. Chris felt a deep sense of peace settle within him, a certainty that this was where he belonged, in the presence of the girl who had captured his heart with her quiet strength and unassuming grace. He knew that their journey was only beginning, that the whispers of the heart would guide them through the days and nights to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Chris walked beside Julia, their steps in perfect sync. He felt a quiet joy blossoming within him, a promise of love and connection that would grow with each passing day. And so, they ventured into the twilight, their hearts full of hope and possibility, ready to embrace the future and the stories yet to be written. The whispers of the heart had spoken, weaving their lives together in a tapestry of love that would stand the test of time. Chapter 5: Sunset Strolls. The sun hovered low on the horizon, casting long, golden shadows over the small town. As the heat of the day slowly faded into the cool embrace of evening, Chris found himself drawn once more to the familiar paths that wound through his life. These paths, lined with memories and possibilities, led him inevitably toward the one person who had become a beacon of light in his world, Julia. The streets were alive with the soft murmurs of evening activity, the sound of laughter and conversation blending with the distant chirping of crickets. Street lamps flickered on, casting pools of warm light that danced across the cobblestones, inviting the town to embrace the beauty of the approaching night. Chris strolled with a purposeful ease, his steps guided by the rhythmic beat of his heart. In his mind, he replayed the moments they had shared, the quiet glances, the shared smiles, the unspoken connection that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. It was a connection that defied explanation, a bond woven from threads of understanding and mutual respect. He made his way to the park, a sanctuary of peace nestled at the heart of the town. The park was a haven for those seeking solace in nature's embrace, a place where time seemed to slow, allowing the soul to breathe and the heart to reflect. Chris had always found comfort here, but now it held an added significance, a place where memories with Julia were etched into the landscape. As he entered the park, the sound of rustling leaves greeted him, the gentle swaying of branches whispering secrets in the language of the wind. The path was dappled with light, the setting sun casting a warm glow that bathed everything in a golden hue. It was the perfect evening for a stroll, a time when the world seemed to pause and allow its inhabitants to simply be. Chris's heart skipped a beat as he spotted Julia sitting on a bench beneath a towering oak tree. Her silhouette was framed by the soft glow of twilight, her features bathed in the gentle light of the setting sun. She was engrossed in a book, her expression thoughtful and serene, as if lost in a world of her own creation. He approached with quiet steps, not wanting to disturb the peace she had found. As he neared, she glanced up, her eyes meeting his with a look of recognition and warmth. Her smile was a welcome embrace, a silent invitation to join her in this shared moment of tranquility. Chris sat beside her, the bench creaking softly under his weight. He took a deep breath, inhaling the sense of earth and greenery, and allowed himself to relax into the comfort of her presence. They sat in silence, the air around them filled with the gentle symphony of nature. The rustling of leaves, the distant call of a nightingale, and the soft whisper of the breeze. Julia closed her book, placing it beside her with a quiet grace. Her gaze wandered over the park, taking in the beauty of the scene before them. Chris followed her gaze, his eyes tracing the path of the sun as it dipped below the horizon, leaving a trail of vibrant colors in its wake. The sky was a canvas painted with hues of pink and orange, the colors deepening into shades of purple and indigo as night approached. It was a moment of breathtaking beauty, a reminder of the transient nature of time and the importance of cherishing each fleeting second. Chris felt a sense of peace settle within him, a deep contentment that came from being in the presence of someone who understood him without the need for words. He reached for her hand, a gentle gesture that spoke of trust and companionship. Her fingers entwined with his, a perfect fit, as if they were two halves of a whole. As they sat together, watching the day fade into night, Chris felt the stirrings of hope and promise. The future was an unwritten story, a blank page waiting to be filled with moments of joy and discovery. He knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, united by the bond they had forged in the quiet moments shared beneath the setting sun. The stars began to appear, twinkling like distant beacons in the vast expanse of the sky. Chris and Julia remained on the bench, content to be in each other's company, their hearts beating in harmony with the world around them. It was a moment of pure connection, a testament to the power of love to transcend words and speak directly to the soul. As the first hints of moonlight cast a silver glow over the park, Chris and Julia rose from the bench, their hands still entwined. They walked side by side, their footsteps echoing softly in the night, a promise of the journey they would take together, a journey filled with the beauty of sunset strolls and the whispers of the heart. Chapter 6. The Silent Dance. The town awoke to a crisp morning, the air cool and invigorating under a sky brushed with the soft pastels of dawn. It was the kind of morning that promised endless possibilities, where the world felt new and alive with anticipation. Chris rose early, drawn by an inexplicable energy that urged him to seize the day and embrace the beauty it held. He prepared with care, choosing his clothes with an uncharacteristic attention to detail. There was a sense of purpose in his actions, a quiet determination that came from the knowledge that today was special. The memory of Julia's hand in his, The warmth of her presence lingered in his mind like a cherished dream. As he stepped outside, the streets greeted him with a familiar embrace. The town was slowly coming to life, the soft hum of activity growing as shops opened and the first rays of sunlight painted the rooftops in shades of gold. Chris set off on a path that had become second nature, his heart guiding his steps toward a destination that had become his sanctuary. He found himself at the community center, a modest building nestled at the heart of the town. It was a place where people gathered to share in the joys of life, to celebrate milestones and create memories that would last a lifetime. Today, the center buzzed with excitement, the air filled with the promise of music and dance. Inside, the hall was transformed into a world of enchantment. Strings of lights hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow that illuminated the polished wooden floor. The sound of a live band tuning their instruments filled the space, their melodies echoing off the walls in a symphony of anticipation. Chris moved with purpose, his eyes scanning the room for a familiar figure. And there she was, Julia, standing near the edge of the dance floor, her expression a mix of excitement and wonder. She wore a simple yet elegant dress, the fabric flowing around her like water as she moved with a grace that seemed almost ethereal. His heart leapt at the sight of her, a thrill of joy coursing through him as he made his way to her side. Julia turned as he approached, her eyes meeting his with a look of warmth and understanding that transcended words. There was a magic in the air, a shared recognition that this moment was theirs to hold and cherish. The band struck up a tune, the music flowing through the room like a river of sound. It was a melody of hope and joy, a song that invited the heart to dance and the spirit to soar. Chris extended his hand, a silent invitation to join him in the dance, and Julia accepted with a smile that lit up the room. Together, they stepped onto the dance floor, their movements guided by an unspoken rhythm. The world around them faded away, leaving only the music and the connection that bound them together. It was a dance of the heart, a silent conversation told through the language of movement. Chris felt a sense of freedom as he moved in sync with Julia, their steps fluid and effortless as if they had been dancing together their whole lives. There was no need for words, no need for explanations. Their bodies spoke in a language all their own, one that transcended the barriers of speech and reached directly to the soul. The music swelled, the tempo rising as the dance carried them across the floor. Chris felt the exhilaration of the moment, the thrill of being alive and present in a world filled with possibility. Julia's laughter, a melody all its own, filled the air, adding a layer of joy to the symphony that surrounded them. As the song reached its crescendo, Chris twirled Julia beneath the glow of the lights, her dress swirling like a galaxy of stars. Their eyes met, a silent promise exchanged in the space between heartbeats, a vow to cherish the beauty of each moment, to hold onto the love that had blossomed in the quiet spaces of their lives. The music slowed, the final notes lingering in the air like the last rays of sunset. Chris and Julia came to a gentle stop, their hands still entwined, their hearts beating in harmony. The room erupted into applause, a celebration of the magic they had created together, a testament to the power of connection and the beauty of the silent dance. As the evening unfolded, Chris and Julia remained by each other's side, sharing in the laughter and joy that filled the hall. They danced again and again, each song a new chapter in their story, a story told not in words but in the language of the heart. The night stretched on, the stars outside twinkling like diamonds in a velvet sky. Chris felt a deep sense of contentment settle within him, a certainty that this was where he belonged, in the arms of the girl who had become his world, in the embrace of the silent dance that bound their hearts together. As the last notes of the evening faded into the night, Chris and Julia stepped out into the cool embrace of the evening, their hands still entwined. They walked beneath the stars, their footsteps echoing softly in the quiet streets, a promise of the journey they would take together, a journey of love and laughter written in the language of the heart. Chapter 7. The Art of Love. As the days of summer slowly drifted into the embrace of autumn, the small town transformed into a tapestry of vibrant colors. The trees wore crowns of gold and crimson, their leaves dancing in the breeze before falling gracefully to the ground. It was a season of change and reflection, where the beauty of nature seemed to mirror the journey of the heart. Chris felt this change deeply as he walked through the town, the cool air invigorating and fresh. The memories of summer lingered like a warm embrace, but he welcomed the new season with open arms, eager to explore the possibilities it held. His thoughts, as always, were drawn to Julia, the girl who had become the center of his world, whose presence had transformed his life into a canvas painted with hope and joy. He made his way to the art studio, a place he had come to cherish as a sanctuary for creativity and expression. The studio was nestled in a quiet corner of town, its windows offering a view of the bustling streets and the serene beauty of the surrounding landscape. It was a place where artists gathered to share their passion, to lose themselves in the world of colors and shapes. Inside, the studio was alive with activity. Easels stood like sentinels, each holding a canvas filled with the dreams and visions of its creator. The scent of paint and turpentine filled the air, mingling with the soft hum of conversation and the gentle rustle of brushes on canvas. It was a world of inspiration, where imagination knew no bounds. Chris found Julia in her usual spot, her focus intent on the canvas before her. Her auburn hair was pulled back, a few loose strands framing her face as she worked with a quiet intensity. Her brush moved with purpose, each stroke a testament to her passion and skill. She painted with a grace that seemed almost magical, her hand guided by an unseen force that brought her visions to life. He watched in admiration, captivated by the way she transformed blank canvas into vibrant scenes filled with emotion and meaning. There was a depth to her art, a language that spoke directly to the heart, inviting the viewer to step into a world of wonder and possibility. Chris felt a sense of awe as he observed her, aware of the privilege of witnessing her creative process. Julia glanced up, her eyes meeting his with a warmth that filled him with joy. Her smile was a silent invitation, a gesture that welcomed him into her world. Chris moved to her side, offering a gentle nod of appreciation for the beauty she had created. There was no need for words. Their connection was one that transcended language, a bond forged in the quiet moments shared beneath the sun and stars. He picked up a brush, feeling the familiar weight of it in his hand, and turned to his own canvas. The studio was a space where he could express the emotions that words could not convey, where he could explore the depths of his soul through the art of creation. As he began to paint, he felt the world around him fade away, leaving only the colors and the shapes that danced before his eyes. The hours passed in a gentle rhythm, the two of them lost in their own worlds of imagination and inspiration. Chris painted with a newfound passion, his strokes bold and confident as he poured his heart onto the canvas. The colors blended and flowed, creating a scene that spoke of love and hope, of the journey he and Julia had embarked upon together. As the light outside began to fade, the studio took on a cozy warmth, the glow of the setting sun casting a soft light over the room. Chris and Julia paused to admire each other's work, their eyes tracing the lines and shapes that told their stories. There was a sense of accomplishment in the air, a feeling of having created something beautiful and meaningful. Chris marveled at Julia's painting, a scene that captured the essence of autumn in all its glory. The trees stood proud, their leaves a riot of color that danced in the wind. A figure stood beneath them, arms outstretched, embracing the world with open heart and soul. It was a celebration of life, a testament to the beauty of the present moment. Julia's eyes lingered on Chris's canvas, a landscape of rolling hills bathed in the golden light of dusk. The sky was a tapestry of colors, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and pink. In the foreground, two figures stood hand in hand, their silhouettes outlined against the horizon, a symbol of unity and love. Together, they stepped back to admire their work, the paintings a reflection of their journey and the bond they shared. It was a moment of quiet pride, a recognition of the power of art to capture the beauty of the heart and the spirit of the soul. As they tidied their brushes and packed away their supplies, Chris felt a sense of peace settle within him. The studio had become a place of connection, a space where they could explore the depths of their creativity and the strength of their bond. It was a reminder of the power of art to transcend the ordinary and create moments of magic and wonder. With the canvases safely stored, Chris and Julia left the studio, stepping out into the cool evening air. The stars began to appear in the sky, twinkling like distant beacons in the vast expanse above. Hand in hand, they walked through the town, their footsteps echoing softly in the night. A promise of the journey they would continue to share, a journey of love and creativity written in the art of the heart. Chapter 8. The First Snowfall. The arrival of winter cast a serene beauty over the small town, transforming it into a landscape of white wonder. Snow fell gently from the sky, each flake a delicate masterpiece that floated down to rest on rooftops, trees, and the cobblestone streets. It was a time of quiet reflection and warm fires, a season that invited the heart to slow and savor the simple joys of life. Chris watched from his window as the world outside transformed into a winter wonderland. The first snowfall had a magic all its own, turning the familiar streets into a canvas of pristine beauty. The air was crisp and clean, carrying with it the promise of new beginnings and the warmth of cherished memories. He wrapped himself in a thick scarf and coat, the fabric snug and comforting against the chill of the day. There was an excitement in the air, a feeling that anything was possible in this world of white and wonder. Chris set out into the morning, his footsteps crunching softly in the snow as he made his way toward the heart of the town. The streets were quiet, the usual bustle hushed by the blanket of snow that covered everything in sight. It was as if the world had paused to breathe, to appreciate the beauty of the moment before moving forward once more. Chris marveled at the sight, his heart filled with a sense of peace and tranquility. He reached the town square, where the snow lay untouched, a perfect expanse of white that glistened in the morning light. The square was adorned with festive decorations, strings of lights twinkling like stars in the branches of evergreen trees. It was a scene straight out of a holiday postcard, a place where dreams seemed to take shape and come to life. As he stood there, taking in the beauty of the scene, Chris's thoughts turned to Julia. She was never far from his mind, her presence a constant source of joy and inspiration. He imagined her laughter filling the air, her eyes sparkling with delight at the sight of the snow-covered town. His heart guided his steps as he made his way to her apartment, eager to share in the wonder of the day. He could picture her waiting by the window, her breath fogging the glass as she watched the snow fall. The thought brought a smile to his lips, a warmth that spread through him despite the chill of the air. Arriving at her door, Chris took a moment to brush the snow from his coat, the flakes falling to the ground in a flurry of white. He knocked gently, anticipation thrumming in his veins, and felt his heart lift as the door swung open to reveal Julia, her eyes bright with surprise and delight. She was bundled in a cozy sweater, her auburn hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall of copper. Her smile was a welcome embrace, a silent invitation to step inside and share in the warmth of her world. Chris felt a sense of belonging as he entered, the familiar scent of pine and cinnamon greeting him like an old friend. Together, they prepared for an adventure in the snow, bundling up in layers of wool and fleece to ward off the chill. There was a sense of playfulness in the air, a lightness that came from the joy of being together, of sharing in the simple pleasures of life. They stepped out into the world of white, their laughter mingling with the soft whisper of falling snow. The town square beckoned, its wide-open space inviting them to explore and create, to lose themselves in the wonder of the day. Chris and Julia exchanged a glance, a shared understanding passing between them, and then they were off, running through the snow like children set free to play. Their footsteps left trails in the untouched expanse, a dance of joy and spontaneity that spoke of the bond they shared. Snowflakes clung to their hair and clothes, their breath visible in the crisp air as they moved with an exuberance that defied the cold. Chris scooped up a handful of snow, shaping it into a ball with practiced ease. With a mischievous grin, he launched it toward Julia, watching as it arced through the air to land with a soft poof at her feet. Her laughter rang out, a melody of delight that echoed through the square. Julia responded in kind, her aim true as she sent a snowball flying toward him. The playful exchange continued, a battle of wits and laughter that left them breathless and rosy-cheeked. It was a moment of pure joy, a celebration of life and love beneath the winter sky. As the afternoon wore on, they paused to catch their breath, leaning against each other in a comfortable silence. The snow continued to fall, a gentle reminder of the beauty of the world and the power of connection. Chris felt a deep contentment settle within him, a certainty that this was where he was meant to be, in the presence of the girl who had become his everything. The day slowly faded into evening, the sky painted with the soft colors of dusk. Chris and Julia made their way back to her apartment, their hands entwined, their hearts full of the memories they had created. Inside, the warmth of the fire welcomed them, a cozy glow that wrapped around them like a blanket. They settled by the hearth, a sense of peace settling over them as they watched the flames dance and flicker. The world outside was silent, the snow falling gently against the window pane, a lullaby that promised dreams of love and laughter. Chris glanced at Julia, her features bathed in the soft light of the fire, and felt a surge of gratitude for the journey they had shared. It was a journey of seasons and moments, of quiet whispers and shared dreams, a journey that had only just begun. As the first stars appeared in the night sky, Chris and Julia remained side by side, content in the warmth of each other's presence. It was a moment of perfect peace, a promise of the love and joy that would continue to guide them through the days and nights to come. Chapter 9. The Warmth of Home. Winter settled over the town like a soft blanket, wrapping it in quiet beauty. The snow continued to fall, creating a world of shimmering white that stretched as far as the eye could see. The days were short and the nights long, but there was a warmth that filled the air, a feeling of togetherness that brought the community closer in the face of the cold. Chris felt this warmth as he prepared to visit his family, the anticipation of the trip filling him with a sense of joy and nostalgia. The prospect of returning home for the holidays was a welcome one, a chance to reconnect with loved ones and share in the traditions that had shaped his life. He packed his bags with care, folding each item of clothing with a practiced hand. The familiar scent of the fabric softened with time, brought back memories of past gatherings, of laughter and love shared around the family table. Chris smiled at the thought, his heart light with the promise of the days to come. The journey home was a picturesque one, the landscape transformed by the touch of winter into a scene of serene beauty. The train traveled steadily through the countryside, its windows framing the world in motion, a blur of snow-covered fields and distant hills. Inside the carriage, passengers sat quietly, their thoughts a mirror of his own as they traveled toward home and the comfort of family. Chris arrived at his childhood home, the sight of it filling him with a sense of belonging that warmed him from the inside out. The house stood proudly against the backdrop of the snow, its windows aglow with the soft light of evening. Smoke rose from the chimney, a beacon of warmth that promised a cozy welcome. His parents greeted him with open arms, their smiles bright with the joy of his arrival. The embrace of family was a balm for the soul, a reminder of the unbreakable bonds that connected them despite the passage of time and distance. Chris felt the weight of the year lift from his shoulders as he stepped inside, the familiar sense of home greeting him like an old friend. The house was decorated for the season, every corner filled with festive cheer. Garlands of evergreen adorned the mantel, their fragrant needles a symbol of life and renewal. Candles flickered in the windows, their gentle glow casting a warm light over the room. The tree stood tall and proud, its branches adorned with ornaments that told the story of their family, a tapestry of memories woven through the years. Chris settled into the rhythm of home life, the days filled with laughter and the simple pleasures of being together. He helped his mother in the kitchen, their movements a dance of familiarity as they prepared meals that had been passed down through generations. The aroma of spices filled the air, mingling with the warmth of the oven to create a comforting embrace. In the evenings, they gathered around the fire, the soft crackle of logs a backdrop to the stories and reminiscences that flowed freely. Chris listened with a smile, his heart full as he heard tales of his childhood, of the adventures and mishaps that had shaped him into the man he had become. It was a time of reflection, a chance to honor the past while looking forward to the future. The snow continued to fall outside, a constant reminder of the beauty of the season. Chris and his family ventured out into the winter wonderland, their laughter ringing through the air as they played in the snow. They built snowmen and made snow angels, their joy a celebration of life and the bonds that connected them. Chris felt a deep sense of gratitude as he watched his family, aware of the love that surrounded him and the strength it gave him. It was a love that transcended words, a connection that was felt in the quiet moments shared beneath the stars and in the laughter that filled the air. As the holiday approached, the house buzzed with excitement and anticipation. The days were filled with preparation and the joy of coming together to create something beautiful. Chris helped his father hang lights on the porch, the twinkling bulbs a symbol of hope and light in the dark of winter. On the eve of the holiday, the family gathered around the table, the warmth of their togetherness a balm for the soul. The table was set with care, each place a tribute to the traditions that had shaped their lives. Chris looked around at the faces of those he loved, feeling a deep sense of peace and gratitude for the journey that had brought him to this moment. The meal was a celebration of love and connection, each dish a testament to the care and effort of those who had prepared it. Chris savored each bite, the flavors a symphony of taste and memory that filled him with warmth. The conversation flowed easily, stories and laughter shared as they celebrated the joy of being together. As the evening drew to a close, Chris felt a sense of contentment settle over him. The warmth of home and the love of family were gifts beyond measure, treasures to be cherished and held close to the heart. He knew that these moments would remain with him always, a source of strength and inspiration for the days to come. As he lay in bed that night, the world outside silent beneath its blanket of snow, Chris thought of Julia and the journey they were on together. He felt a sense of anticipation for the future, a certainty that the love they shared would guide them through the seasons of life. It was a love that was as constant and true as the stars in the winter sky, a beacon of hope and light that would illuminate their path for years to come. Chapter 10. The Heart of Winter. The deep chill of winter settled over the town, wrapping it in a blanket of frost and stillness. The days were short, the sun a pale disk in the sky, casting long shadows across the snow-covered streets. The nights were long and silent, the quiet only broken by the soft whisper of the wind and the occasional creak of snow-laden branches. Chris and Julia returned from the warmth of their separate homes to the quiet beauty of their shared life. Their return was met with a renewed sense of appreciation for the stillness of their town and the serenity of the winter landscape. It was a time for reflection, for savoring the quiet moments that winter brought. The apartment they shared was a haven from the cold, a cozy retreat filled with warmth and light. The scent of pine and cinnamon lingered in the air, mingling with the soft glow of the fire that crackled in the hearth. The windows were frosted over, the patterns created by the cold a delicate work of art that framed the world outside. Chris and Julia settled into their routines with a sense of contentment. Mornings began with the soft light of dawn filtering through the curtains, the world outside slowly coming to life as the sun rose. They enjoyed quiet breakfasts together, the comfort of shared routines a balm for the soul. The meals were simple yet satisfying, a reflection of the peace and simplicity they found in each other's company. Each day brought new opportunities to explore the beauty of winter. Chris and Julia ventured out into the snow-covered town, their footsteps leaving faint impressions in the crisp white blanket. The streets were tranquil, the usual hustle and bustle replaced by a serene calm. They wandered through the town square, the festive decorations from the holidays still adorning the buildings, their colors muted but still vibrant against the winter landscape. They took pleasure in the small joys of the season, in the way the snow sparkled in the sunlight and the quiet beauty of the trees draped in frost. There was a timeless quality to these moments, a sense of being wrapped in a world that was both familiar and new. One afternoon, they decided to visit a nearby forest, drawn by the promise of solitude and natural beauty. The path was marked by the footprints of previous travelers, their impressions a testament to the beauty of the winter landscape. Chris and Julia followed the trail, their breaths visible in the cold air, their hearts light with anticipation. The forest was a world unto itself, the trees standing tall and silent in their winter coats. The snow-covered ground was soft beneath their feet, the silence broken only by the occasional call of a distant bird or the crunch of snow. They walked with a sense of reverence, their surroundings a reminder of the beauty and power of nature. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they came across a small clearing, a hidden gem that seemed untouched by the outside world. The sunlight filtered through the branches, casting a soft glow over the snow-covered ground. Chris and Julia stood together in the clearing, taking in the beauty of their surroundings with a sense of awe and gratitude. They spent the afternoon exploring the forest, their hearts filled with the tranquility and wonder of the winter landscape. The world outside seemed to fade away, leaving only the peaceful embrace of nature and the shared joy of discovery. The experience deepened their connection, a reminder of the strength and beauty of their bond. As evening approached, they made their way back to the apartment, the sky painted with the soft colors of dusk. The town was quiet, the streets bathed in the gentle glow of streetlights that cast long shadows on the snow-covered ground. Chris and Julia walked hand in hand, their hearts full of the warmth and peace that came from spending time together in the midst of winter's beauty. Back at the apartment, they settled into their cozy retreat, the fire crackling softly in the hearth. The warmth of the room was a welcome contrast to the chill of the outside world, a reminder of the comfort and security they found in each other's presence. They spent the evening wrapped in blankets, the soft glow of the fire casting a warm light over their faces. They enjoyed the quiet moments of companionship, the gentle hum of the world outside a soothing background to their shared peace. The night stretched on, a canvas of stars and silence that promised dreams of love and warmth. Chris and Julia's life together was a journey of discovery and connection, a tapestry of moments woven together by the threads of their love. Winter had brought a new layer of depth to their relationship, a chance to appreciate the quiet beauty of the season and the strength of their bond. As they prepared for bed, the world outside was a silent witness to their love. The snow continued to fall, a gentle reminder of the beauty and tranquility of the season. Chris and Julia lay together, their hearts full of the warmth and joy they had found in each other's presence. The deep silence of the night enveloped them, a peaceful embrace that promised dreams of love and contentment. The world outside was a canvas of white, a reflection of the beauty and serenity that had become a part of their lives. In the quiet of the night, Chris and Julia found a sense of completeness, a certainty that their love would guide them through the seasons of life, offering warmth and joy in the midst of winter's embrace. Chapter 11. The Dance of Spring. As winter's grip began to loosen, the world outside transformed once more. The snow that had blanketed the town in a serene, frosty silence slowly began to recede, giving way to the first signs of spring. The landscape, once a monochrome canvas of white, now started to emerge from its winter slumber, revealing the vibrant colors and life that lay beneath. Chris and Julia stepped outside to witness the change, their breaths visible in the cool, fresh air. The town seemed to awaken with the arrival of spring, each corner touched by the gentle brushstrokes of the new season. The snowmelt created small rivulets that trickled down the streets, the sound a soft murmur that hinted at the promise of renewal. They wandered through the streets, the once snow-covered sidewalks now revealing patches of green. Buds on trees began to swell, their promise of leaves and blossoms a welcome sight. The air was filled with the scent of earth and growing things, a fragrance that spoke of new beginnings and the vibrant life that was about to unfold. Chris and Julia made their way to the park, their footsteps light with the anticipation of witnessing the first blooms of spring. The park, once a frozen expanse of white, was now a canvas of emerging color. Crocuses and snowdrops pushed through the soil, their delicate petals opening to the first rays of sunshine. The sight of these early blooms was a celebration of life, a testament to the resilience and beauty of nature. They walked hand in hand along the paths, their hearts light with the joy of the season. The park was filled with the sounds of renewal, the chirping of birds returning from their winter migration, the gentle rustle of leaves as they began to unfurl, and the distant murmur of children playing in the park's open spaces. The air was alive with the promise of warmth and growth, a reminder of the cycle of life that continued unabated. In the afternoons, Chris and Julia took to their garden, a space that had lain dormant through the winter months. The garden was a blank canvas, waiting for the touch of spring to bring it to life. They worked together, their hands digging into the rich, dark soil, preparing the beds for the seeds that would soon take root. The process was one of shared effort and anticipation, a labor of love that would yield the vibrant colors and fragrances of summer. They planted rows of seeds, tomatoes, peppers, and herbs, each one a promise of the bounty to come. As they worked, their hands brushed against each other, a silent exchange of affection that spoke of their shared dreams and aspirations. The garden became a metaphor for their relationship, a space where they nurtured their love and watched it grow and flourish. Evenings were spent in the garden, the setting sun casting a warm glow over the newly planted beds. Chris and Julia enjoyed the quiet moments together, their hearts full of the peace and contentment that came from being in each other's presence. The garden was a sanctuary, a place where they could unwind and reflect on the beauty of the season and the journey they were on together. As the weeks passed, the garden began to show signs of life. Tiny green shoots pushed through the soil, their presence a tangible reminder of the growth and renewal that was taking place. Chris and Julia tended to the garden with care, their efforts rewarded with the sight of their plants thriving and their dreams taking shape. The town, too, was alive with the colors and sounds of spring. The streets were lined with blooming flowers, tulips, daffodils, and hyacinths, each one a burst of color against the backdrop of the emerging green. The once barren trees were now adorned with fresh leaves, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. The town seemed to come alive with the vibrancy of the new season, each corner touched by the magic of spring. Chris and Julia embraced the changes with open hearts, their lives woven into the fabric of the season. They continued to explore the town, enjoying the beauty of the blooming gardens and the lively atmosphere of the streets. The days grew longer, the warmth of the sun a welcome contrast to the cool air of spring. They spent their weekends exploring nearby trails, taking in the beauty of the countryside as it came to life with the arrival of spring. The trails were lined with wildflowers and the soft, fresh green of new leaves. The sight of deer grazing in the meadows and the sound of babbling brooks added to the sense of renewal and joy that filled their hearts. Each evening, as they returned to their garden, they marveled at the changes that had taken place. The garden had become a vibrant tapestry of colors and fragrances, a reflection of the love and care they had invested in it. They watched with pride as their plants grew and flourished, their efforts a testament to the beauty and strength of their bond. As spring continued to unfold, Chris and Julia found themselves embracing the new possibilities and opportunities that the season brought. Their love, like the garden, had grown and deepened, nurtured by the shared experiences and the joy of discovering the beauty of life together. The arrival of spring was a celebration of their journey, a reminder of the strength and resilience that had carried them through the seasons and the promise of a future filled with hope and happiness. In the quiet moments of the evening, as they sat together in the garden, Chris and Julia felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The beauty of the season and the strength of their love had created a tapestry of joy and contentment, a reflection of the journey they had shared and the dreams they continued to pursue. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, their light a soft glow against the backdrop of the darkening world, Chris and Julia felt a sense of peace and gratitude. The dance of spring had brought them closer together, a reminder of the beauty and strength of their bond and the promise of a future filled with love and happiness. Chapter 12. The Echo of Summer. As spring melted into summer, the world outside basked in the warmth of the season. The days grew longer, the sun climbing higher in the sky, casting its golden light over the town and the lush landscape that had come to life with the arrival of summer. Chris and Julia embraced the vibrant energy of the season, their days filled with the joys and adventures that summer brought. The garden was now a riot of color and growth, the plants thriving under the care they had received. Tomatoes ripened on the vine, their bright red hue a striking contrast to the deep green leaves. Peppers and herbs added their own touches of color and fragrance, each plant a testament to the hard work and love that had gone into their care. Chris and Julia spent their mornings in the garden, tending to the plants and enjoying the tranquility of the early hours. The air was filled with the buzz of bees and the chirping of birds, their songs a symphony of summer. They worked together, their movements synchronized and effortless, their hands and hearts connected by the shared joy of nurturing their garden. The afternoons were often spent exploring the town and its surroundings. Chris and Julia ventured out to the local farmers market, the stalls bursting with the fresh produce of the season. The market was a lively place, filled with the colors and scents of summer. They enjoyed browsing the stalls, selecting ripe fruits and vegetables, and savoring the flavors of the season. The town itself was alive with the energy of summer. The streets were bustling with activity, the sidewalks lined with people enjoying the warmth of the sun. Cafes and restaurants spilled out onto the streets, their outdoor seating areas filled with patrons savoring the summer breeze. Chris and Julia joined in the vibrancy of the town, their days filled with leisurely strolls and spontaneous adventures. Evenings were a time for relaxation and reflection. Chris and Julia often took long walks through the park, the soft glow of twilight casting a gentle light over the landscape. The park was a favorite spot, its paths lined with tall trees that offered shade and comfort. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass, creating a soothing backdrop to their quiet moments together. As the sun set, the sky transformed into a canvas of colors, deep oranges, pinks, and purples blending together in a breathtaking display. Chris and Julia would find a quiet spot to sit and watch the sunset, their hands entwined, their hearts full of the beauty and peace of the moment. The sunset was a daily reminder of the wonders of the world and the joy of sharing it with someone they loved. Summer also brought the promise of adventure. Chris and Julia took to the countryside, exploring nearby trails and hidden spots. The countryside was a tapestry of rolling hills, open fields, and dense forests, each corner offering new experiences and discoveries. They hiked through the fields, their footsteps crunching on the gravel paths, and wandered through the woods, their senses heightened by the sights and sounds of nature. One particularly memorable day, they ventured to a nearby lake, its waters shimmering under the summer sun. The lake was a tranquil spot, surrounded by trees that provided a natural canopy of shade. Chris and Julia spent the day by the water, their feet dangling in the cool, refreshing lake, the gentle ripples caressing their skin. They enjoyed a picnic by the shore, the simple pleasures of food and companionship a perfect complement to the beauty of the surroundings. The lake became a cherished spot, a place where they could escape from the hustle and bustle of daily life and find solace in the tranquility of nature. The heat of summer was tempered by the occasional summer storm, a dramatic reminder of nature's power and beauty. Chris and Julia would watch the storms from the safety of their apartment, the rain pouring down in sheets, the sky illuminated by flashes of lightning. The storms were a spectacle of nature, their intensity a reminder of the dynamic and ever-changing world they lived in. The arrival of summer was also marked by the annual town festival, a celebration of the season's bounty and the community's spirit. The festival was a lively event, filled with music, food, and laughter. Chris and Julia enjoyed the festive atmosphere, their hearts lifted by the joy and camaraderie that filled the air. The festival was a reminder of the close-knit community they were a part of, a celebration of the connections that bound them together. As summer reached its zenith, Chris and Julia found themselves reflecting on the journey they had shared and the future that lay ahead. The season had been a time of growth and exploration, a period of joy and discovery. The warmth of summer had mirrored the warmth of their love, each day a reminder of the beauty and strength of their bond. The long days of summer gradually gave way to the cooler nights of autumn. The transition was subtle, the first hints of change appearing in the golden hues of the leaves and the crispness of the air. Chris and Julia embraced the shifting seasons, their hearts full of gratitude for the experiences and memories they had created. As summer came to a close, Chris and Julia took a moment to savor the beauty of the season's end. They spent their final days of summer enjoying the last warm breezes, the final blooms of the garden, and the quiet moments of reflection that marked the transition from one season to the next. The echoes of summer would remain with them, a cherished part of their journey together, and a reminder of the love and joy they had shared during the sunlit days of the season. Chapter 13. The Whisper of Autumn. As summer faded into the warm, golden hues of autumn, the world outside underwent a transformation. The vibrant greens of summer gave way to a tapestry of reds, oranges, and yellows, each leaf a testament to the beauty of the changing season. The crisp air was filled with the earthy scent of fallen leaves and the promise of cooler days ahead. Chris and Julia embraced the arrival of autumn with a sense of anticipation and joy. The days grew shorter, the sunlight casting a softer, more golden glow over the landscape. The early mornings were marked by a cool, refreshing chill, a reminder of the transition from the warmth of summer to the embrace of autumn. They spent their mornings in the garden, preparing it for the change in season. The vibrant summer blooms began to fade, their colors giving way to the more muted tones of autumn. Chris and Julia worked together to tidy up the garden, collecting fallen leaves and preparing the beds for the coming winter. Their movements were a dance of familiarity and care, their hearts full of the satisfaction of nurturing their garden through each season. The afternoons were a time for exploration and discovery. Chris and Julia took to the nearby woods, their footsteps rustling through the fallen leaves. The forest was a spectacle of autumnal beauty, the trees adorned with leaves in every shade of red, orange, and gold. The sunlight filtered through the branches, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor. They walked hand in hand, their hearts light with the joy of the season. They ventured to a nearby apple orchard, the trees heavy with ripe fruit. The orchard was a picturesque scene, the branches laden with apples ready for harvest. Chris and Julia wandered among the trees, their hands reaching up to pick the fruit. The apples were crisp and sweet, their flavor a delightful reminder of the bounty of autumn. They enjoyed a picnic in the orchard, the simple pleasure of fresh apples and the beauty of the surroundings creating a sense of contentment. The cooler temperatures of autumn were a welcome change from the heat of summer. Chris and Julia enjoyed the crispness of the air and the cozy warmth of their home. They spent their evenings wrapped in blankets, the soft glow of the fire casting a warm light over the room. The nights were filled with the gentle sounds of the season, the rustling of leaves in the wind, and the distant call of migrating birds. The changing season also brought with it the preparation for the upcoming winter. Chris and Julia took to the town's Harvest Festival, a celebration of the season's bounty and the close-knit community they were a part of. The festival was a lively event, filled with the aromas of freshly baked pies and the warmth of community spirit. They enjoyed the festivities, their hearts lifted by the joy and camaraderie that filled the air. As autumn deepened, the days grew cooler and the nights longer. Chris and Julia took to exploring the countryside, their walks through the fields and forests a celebration of the beauty of the season. They visited a nearby pumpkin patch, the fields filled with plump pumpkins ready for harvest. The sight of the pumpkins, their orange hues contrasting with the green vines, was a reminder of the changing season and the approaching winter. The evenings were marked by the soft glow of lanterns and the warmth of hearth fires. Chris and Julia enjoyed quiet nights at home, their time spent reflecting on the journey they had shared and the beauty of the autumn season. They prepared hearty meals together, the flavors of autumn, squash, apples, and spices, creating a comforting and satisfying experience. The meals were a celebration of the season's bounty, a reminder of the joys of sharing simple pleasures with someone they loved. As October drew to a close, the first signs of winter began to appear. The mornings were marked by a light frost, the delicate crystals glistening in the early light. The first snowfall of the season was a gentle reminder of the coming winter, the snowflakes falling softly and creating a picturesque blanket over the town. Chris and Julia embraced the transition with a sense of anticipation. The beauty of the first snow a reminder of the season's cycles and the warmth of their love. Autumn was a time of reflection and preparation, a bridge between the warmth of summer and the chill of winter. Chris and Julia savored each moment, their days filled with the beauty of the changing landscape and the simple joys of their shared life. The whisper of autumn was a gentle reminder of the passage of time and the beauty of each season, a celebration of the journey they had shared and the love that continued to grow with each passing day. As the days grew shorter and the nights longer, Chris and Julia looked forward to the coming winter, their hearts full of gratitude for the beauty of autumn and the promise of the season to come. The journey through autumn had been a testament to their love and the strength of their bond, a reminder of the beauty and joy that could be found in each moment. Chapter 14. The Embrace of Winter. As autumn surrendered to the chill of winter, the world outside transformed into a serene, frosty landscape. The first heavy snowfall of the season blanketed the town, draping it in a pristine layer of white. The once vibrant colors of autumn were replaced by a monochrome canvas, where every surface was touched by the gentle hand of winter. Chris and Julia embraced the arrival of winter with a sense of wonder and excitement. The snow-covered landscape was a new world to explore, its beauty both serene and exhilarating. The air was crisp and invigorating, each breath a refreshing reminder of the season's chill. They spent their days discovering the quiet magic of winter, their hearts warmed by the shared joy of the season. The mornings began with the soft light of dawn, casting a pale glow over the snow-covered streets. The town was still and peaceful, the usual bustle replaced by a calm silence. Chris and Julia enjoyed the tranquility of the early hours, their walks through the snow-covered streets a soothing start to the day. Their footsteps left faint impressions in the fresh snow, a testament to their exploration of the winter landscape. They spent their afternoons engaged in winter activities, their days filled with the joys of the season. Chris and Julia ventured out to the local ice rink, where the frozen surface was a playground of gleaming ice. They skated together, their movements graceful and fluid as they glided across the ice. The rink was a hub of activity, its surface alive with the laughter and joy of the community. Chris and Julia enjoyed the camaraderie of the rink, their shared moments on the ice a reflection of their love and connection. In the evenings, they returned to their cozy home, their hearts full of the warmth and comfort of their shared space. The apartment was a sanctuary from the cold, its interior a warm and inviting retreat. The fire crackled in the hearth, its glow casting a soft light over the room. Chris and Julia settled into their evening routines, their time spent wrapped in blankets and enjoying the tranquility of their home. The winter nights were long and peaceful, the quiet of the outside world a gentle backdrop to their cozy evenings. Chris and Julia spent their nights reflecting on the beauty of the season and the journey they had shared. They enjoyed the simple pleasures of winter, sipping hot cocoa by the fire, reading together, and savoring the quiet moments of companionship. As the days passed, the snow continued to fall, its gentle descent creating a serene and magical landscape. Chris and Julia took to exploring the countryside, their walks through the snow-covered fields and forests a testament to the beauty of winter. The trees were adorned with a delicate coating of frost, their branches glistening in the soft light. The landscape was a wonderland of white, each corner touched by the magic of the season. One particularly memorable day, Chris and Julia ventured to a nearby frozen lake. The lake was a vast expanse of ice, its surface a shimmering mirror reflecting the winter sky. They spent the day exploring the frozen landscape, their footsteps leaving faint impressions in the snow. The lake was a tranquil spot, its stillness a reminder of the beauty and serenity of winter. They enjoyed a picnic by the lake, the simple pleasures of fresh bread, cheese, and fruit a delightful contrast to the cold of the season. The picnic was a celebration of winter's beauty, a reminder of the joy and contentment that could be found in the simplest of moments. The beauty of the frozen lake and the tranquility of the surroundings created a sense of peace and fulfillment. As winter continued to unfold, Chris and Julia embraced the changes and joys of the season. They decorated their home for the holidays, the apartment adorned with twinkling lights and festive ornaments. The holiday season brought with it a sense of celebration and togetherness, a reminder of the close-knit community and the warmth of shared traditions. The town was alive with holiday spirit, the streets and shops decorated with festive lights and decorations. Chris and Julia enjoyed the festivities, their hearts lifted by the joy and camaraderie of the season. They attended local events and gatherings, their participation a reflection of their love and connection to the community. Winter was a time of reflection and renewal, a season that offered a chance to pause and appreciate the beauty of the world. Chris and Julia spent their days savoring the simple pleasures of the season, their hearts full of the warmth and joy that came from sharing their lives together. The beauty of the snow-covered landscape and the tranquility of the winter nights created a backdrop of peace and contentment. As the year drew to a close, Chris and Julia took a moment to reflect on the journey they had shared. The seasons had brought with them a tapestry of experiences and memories, each one a testament to the strength and beauty of their bond. The arrival of winter was a gentle reminder of the passage of time and the promise of new beginnings. They welcomed the new year with a sense of anticipation and hope, their hearts full of gratitude for the love and joy they had found in each other. The arrival of winter marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, a new season of life and love to explore and cherish. In the quiet of their home, Chris and Julia embraced the beauty of the season and the promise of the future. The world outside was a serene, snow-covered landscape, a reflection of the peace and contentment they had found in each other's presence. The embrace of winter was a gentle reminder of the love and warmth that had guided them through the seasons and the joy that awaited them in the new year. Chapter 15. The Promise of New Beginnings. As winter's hold began to loosen, the first hints of spring began to make their presence known. The days grew slightly longer, and the soft light of early spring began to filter through the still bare trees. The snow, which had blanketed the town in a quiet, serene cover, started to recede, revealing the first signs of the new season. Chris and Julia felt a renewed sense of excitement and anticipation as they witnessed the world slowly waking from its winter slumber. The transition from winter to spring was a subtle but profound one. The frozen ground began to soften, and the first buds of early flowers started to push through the thawing soil. Chris and Julia embraced the changes with a sense of wonder, their days filled with the promise of new beginnings and the beauty of the emerging season. They spent their mornings in the garden, eager to prepare it for the arrival of spring. The garden, which had been dormant through the winter, was now a canvas awaiting the touch of new growth. Chris and Julia worked together to clear away the remnants of winter, their movements a harmonious blend of effort and care. They turned the soil, removed the dead leaves, and made space for the new seeds and plants that would soon take root. The afternoons were filled with the gentle warmth of the emerging sun. Chris and Julia took to exploring the town and its surroundings, their steps light with the excitement of spring. They wandered through the park, where the first green shoots of grass began to emerge, and the trees, though still bare, hinted at the promise of new leaves. They visited a local greenhouse, a place where the warmth and humidity created an oasis of early blooms. The greenhouse was filled with the vibrant colors and scents of spring, each plant a reminder of the season's renewal. Chris and Julia marveled at the beauty of the flowers and the lush greenery, their hearts uplifted by the sight of new life emerging. The first signs of spring were also evident in the town itself. The streets, which had been quiet and still during the winter, began to come alive with the energy of the new season. Cafes and shops reopened their outdoor seating areas, and the town's parks and public spaces were once again filled with people enjoying the warmth of the sun. Chris and Julia joined in the renewed activity, their days filled with the vibrancy and joy of spring. As the days grew warmer, Chris and Julia continued their work in the garden. They planted seeds and seedlings, their efforts a testament to their hope and anticipation for the new season. The garden became a reflection of their love and commitment, a space where they nurtured their dreams and watched them grow. In the evenings, they enjoyed the soft light of the setting sun and the gentle warmth of the spring air. They spent their time reflecting on the journey they had shared and the promise of the future. The changing season was a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each new beginning. One particular afternoon, Chris and Julia took a trip to a nearby nature reserve. The reserve was a sanctuary of natural beauty, its trails lined with emerging wildflowers and the soft, fresh green of new growth. They wandered through the reserve, their hearts light with the joy of discovering the beauty of spring. The air was filled with the songs of returning birds and the gentle rustle of leaves, creating a soothing and uplifting atmosphere. As they explored the reserve, Chris and Julia found a quiet spot by a babbling brook. The brook was a lively, sparkling stream, its waters clear and cold. They sat by the brook, their feet dangling in the cool water, and enjoyed a peaceful picnic. The simple pleasure of fresh bread, cheese, and fruit was a perfect complement to the beauty of the surroundings. Spring continued to unfold, bringing with it a sense of renewal and growth. The garden began to flourish, its once bare beds now filled with vibrant colors and the promise of new life. Chris and Julia spent their days tending to the garden, their hearts full of the joy and satisfaction that came from nurturing their dreams and watching them come to fruition. The town itself was alive with the energy of spring. The streets and parks were filled with the sights and sounds of the season, each corner touched by the beauty of new beginnings. Chris and Julia embraced the vibrancy of the town, their days filled with exploration and discovery. As April gave way to May, the full bloom of spring was evident everywhere. The garden was a riot of colors, each flower and plant a testament to the love and care that had gone into its cultivation. Chris and Julia enjoyed the beauty of their garden, their hearts full of gratitude for the journey they had shared and the promise of the future. The arrival of spring was a celebration of new beginnings and the beauty of growth. Chris and Julia felt a deep sense of fulfillment as they embraced the changing season and the opportunities it brought. Their days were filled with the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of nurturing their dreams, and the warmth of their shared love. As the world outside continued to bloom and flourish, Chris and Julia looked forward to the future with hope and anticipation. The promise of spring was a reminder of the beauty and strength of their bond and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. The journey through the changing seasons had brought them closer together, and the arrival of spring was a celebration of their love and the new beginnings that awaited them. Chapter 16. The Dance of Blossoms. As May progressed, the world outside was in full bloom, a vibrant display of nature's artistry. The garden, now a kaleidoscope of colors and textures, was a testament to the diligent care and love Chris and Julia had poured into it. Every corner was alive with the lush growth of spring, each flower and plant a reflection of their shared joy and commitment. The mornings were filled with the gentle hum of bees and the sweet scent of blooming flowers. Chris and Julia spent their early hours in the garden, tending to their plants and savoring the tranquility of the season. The air was warm and fragrant, the sunlight casting a golden glow over the blossoming landscape. Their time in the garden was a soothing ritual, a moment of connection with nature and with each other. As the days grew warmer, the garden flourished. The roses, with their velvety petals in shades of red, pink, and white, created a stunning backdrop of color. The lilacs, with their delicate, fragrant blooms, added a touch of elegance and grace. The vegetable beds were also thriving, the promise of fresh produce evident in the swelling tomatoes, peppers, and squash. Chris and Julia reveled in the bounty of their garden, their hearts full of pride and contentment. Afternoons were often spent exploring the town and its surroundings. Chris and Julia took advantage of the beautiful weather to discover new places and enjoy the beauty of the season. They visited local parks and nature trails, their walks a celebration of the vibrant colors and scents of spring. The world seemed to be in constant motion, the energy of the season reflected in the lively atmosphere of the town. One afternoon, they ventured to a nearby botanical garden. The garden was a sanctuary of beauty, its meticulously curated displays showcasing a wide variety of plants and flowers. Chris and Julia wandered through the garden, their senses overwhelmed by the richness of colors and fragrances. Each section of the garden offered a different experience, From the lush, tropical plants in the conservatory to the serene, Japanese-inspired garden with its carefully arranged rocks and tranquil pond. The botanical garden was a place of inspiration and wonder. Chris and Julia marveled at the artistry of nature, the careful design and planning that went into each display. They enjoyed a leisurely stroll, their hearts uplifted by the beauty and creativity that surrounded them. The visit was a reminder of the endless possibilities for their own garden and the joy of discovering new aspects of the natural world. As the days continued to unfold, Chris and Julia embraced the opportunities for adventure and exploration that spring offered. They took day trips to nearby towns and attractions, their travels away to experience the diverse beauty of the region. Each new destination was a chance to discover something unique and create lasting memories together. Their evenings were marked by the soft glow of twilight and the gentle sounds of nature. Chris and Julia spent their nights enjoying the warmth of the season, their time spent relaxing on their porch or by the fire pit. They savored the simple pleasures of summer evenings, listening to the songs of crickets, watching the fireflies dance in the twilight, and reflecting on the beauty of the world around them. As May transitioned into June, the full bloom of spring gave way to the early warmth of summer. The days grew hotter, the air filled with the promise of the new season. Chris and Julia continued their routine of gardening and exploration, their days a blend of productivity and relaxation. The garden was at its peak, each plant and flower a testament to the care and attention they had given. The vegetables were ready for harvest, and Chris and Julia enjoyed the rewards of their hard work. The garden provided them with fresh, flavorful produce that they used in their meals, each dish a celebration of the season's bounty. Their time spent in the garden also became a reflection of their journey together. The act of nurturing their plants was a metaphor for their relationship, a process of growth, care, and mutual support. Each new bloom and harvest was a reminder of the strength of their bond and the joy they found in sharing their lives. The transition from spring to summer was a time of celebration and reflection. Chris and Julia embraced the changing season with a sense of excitement and anticipation, their hearts full of gratitude for the experiences they had shared. The beauty of the garden and the vibrancy of the world outside were a testament to the love and dedication that had guided them through the seasons. As summer approached, Chris and Julia looked forward to the new adventures and opportunities that lay ahead. The journey through spring had been a time of growth and discovery, a celebration of the beauty and wonder of the natural world. The promise of summer brought with it the excitement of new experiences and the joy of continuing their journey together. The dance of blossoms had been a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each new beginning. Chris and Julia embraced the changing seasons with open hearts, their love and commitment a guiding force through the ever-changing landscape of their lives. The world outside was a vibrant tapestry of color and growth, a reflection of the love and joy that had flourished in their hearts. Chapter 17. The Warmth of Summer. As June unfolded, summer arrived in full force, bringing with it the heat and vibrancy of the season. The days grew long and sun-drenched, the sunlight casting a warm, golden glow over the world. Chris and Julia embraced the arrival of summer with a sense of joy and anticipation, their days filled with the pleasures of the season. Mornings began with the gentle warmth of the sun filtering through the windows, the light creating a soft, inviting atmosphere in their home. Chris and Julia took to enjoying their mornings outdoors, their time spent savoring the freshness of the summer air and the beauty of their garden. The garden was a lush, vibrant space, its colors and textures reflecting the full bloom of summer. The flowers were in their prime, their petals unfurled to the sun, and the vegetables were growing rapidly, their produce a testament to the care and attention they had given. The heat of summer brought with it a change in their daily routine. Chris and Julia adapted to the warmer temperatures by embracing a more relaxed lifestyle. They spent their afternoons by the lake, enjoying the coolness of the water and the warmth of the sun. The lake was a perfect escape from the heat, its clear, blue waters inviting them to swim and relax. They took leisurely swims, their bodies refreshed by the cool embrace of the water. The surrounding landscape was a picturesque backdrop of green and blue, the beauty of summer in full display. The lake was also a place of adventure and exploration. Chris and Julia enjoyed boating on its calm waters, their time spent paddling gently across the surface. The boat was a small, wooden vessel, its design simple and charming. They drifted along the lake, their hearts light with the joy of the season. The water sparkled in the sunlight, creating a dazzling display of light and color. Evenings were marked by the soft glow of twilight and the warmth of the summer air. Chris and Julia spent their nights outdoors, enjoying the tranquility of the evening and the beauty of the star-filled sky. They often dined al fresco, their meals enjoyed under the open sky, the aroma of summer fare, grilled meats, fresh vegetables, and ripe fruits, creating a delightful sensory experience. The summer nights were filled with the sounds of nature. The chirping of crickets and the distant call of owls created a soothing symphony, a reminder of the natural world's rhythms. Chris and Julia enjoyed sitting by the fire pit, the crackling flames providing warmth and light as they relaxed and reflected on the day. The firelight cast dancing shadows, adding a touch of magic to their evenings. As summer progressed, Chris and Julia took advantage of the season's opportunities for travel and exploration. They visited nearby towns and attractions, each destination offering a new experience and a chance to discover something unique. Their travels were filled with the excitement of new discoveries and the joy of sharing new experiences together. One memorable trip took them to a nearby coastal town, where they enjoyed the beauty of the ocean and the charm of the seaside. The beach was a wide expanse of golden sand, its shoreline kissed by the gentle waves of the sea. Chris and Julia spent their days lounging on the beach, swimming in the ocean, and exploring the rocky coves and tide pools. The sound of the waves and the scent of the salty sea air created a relaxing and invigorating atmosphere. They also explored the town's local markets and shops, discovering unique crafts and delicious local treats. The town was alive with the energy of summer, its streets bustling with tourists and locals alike. Chris and Julia enjoyed the lively atmosphere, their hearts full of the joy of new experiences and the pleasure of shared moments. Back at home, the summer continued to unfold with its usual warmth and vibrancy. Chris and Julia's garden was a source of pride and joy, its harvest providing fresh, flavorful produce for their meals. They enjoyed the simple pleasures of summer dining: fresh salads, juicy tomatoes, and sweet corn. Each meal a celebration of the season's bounty. The garden was also a place of relaxation and enjoyment. Chris and Julia often spent their evenings in the garden, their time filled with the beauty of the blooming flowers and the peacefulness of the outdoor space. The garden was a sanctuary of calm and tranquility, a perfect place to unwind after a day of summer adventures. As July turned to August, the heat of summer remained, but there was also a subtle shift in the air. The days, while still warm, began to show the first signs of the approaching change in season. The light of the sun grew slightly softer, and the evenings began to cool down more noticeably. Chris and Julia embraced the final weeks of summer with a sense of fulfillment and contentment. The season had been a time of joy and discovery, a celebration of the beauty of the world and the strength of their bond. They looked forward to the coming changes with anticipation, their hearts full of gratitude for the experiences they had shared. The warmth of summer had been a backdrop to their journey, a season of growth and exploration that had brought them closer together. As they prepared to transition into the next chapter of their lives, Chris and Julia carried with them the memories and joys of summer, ready to embrace the changes and new experiences that awaited them. The dance of summer had been a reminder of the beauty of each season and the joy of sharing their lives together, each day a testament to their love and commitment. Chapter 18. The Whisper of Autumn. As August gave way to September, the first whispers of autumn began to make their presence known. The summer heat gradually mellowed, giving way to cooler breezes and the softening light of the season. Chris and Julia welcomed the arrival of autumn with a sense of nostalgia and excitement, their days filled with the anticipation of the changes to come. The mornings were crisp and invigorating, the air tinged with the faint scent of fallen leaves. Chris and Julia embraced the shift in the season by spending their early hours outdoors, their routines adjusted to the cooler temperatures. They enjoyed walks through the town and surrounding countryside, their steps accompanied by the gentle crunch of leaves underfoot. The garden, which had been a riot of summer color, began to show the signs of the changing season. The flowers were past their peak, their petals starting to wither as the days grew shorter. The vegetable beds were abundant with the harvest of summer, and Chris and Julia took to gathering the last of their produce. The garden became a place of reflection and preparation, the transition from summer to autumn marked by the changing colors and textures of their surroundings. Afternoons were spent preparing for the coming of fall. Chris and Julia engaged in the tasks of harvesting and preserving, their efforts focused on capturing the essence of summer to enjoy during the colder months. They collected the remaining fruits and vegetables, preserving them for later use. The kitchen was filled with the aromas of canning and cooking, a comforting reminder of the abundance of the season. One afternoon, they visited an orchard to pick apples, a traditional autumn activity that brought a sense of joy and nostalgia. The orchard was a picturesque landscape of rolling hills and rows of apple trees, their branches heavy with ripe fruit. Chris and Julia wandered through the orchard, their baskets filling with the crisp, sweet apples. The orchard was a place of serenity and beauty, the gentle rustling of the leaves and the soft light of the autumn sun creating a peaceful atmosphere. The changing season was also evident in the town itself. The streets and parks began to show the first signs of autumn, with the leaves turning shades of gold, orange, and red. The town's annual harvest festival was a celebration of the season, with market stalls offering fresh produce, homemade treats, and seasonal crafts. Chris and Julia enjoyed the festival, their hearts lifted by the festive atmosphere and the opportunity to connect with their community. As autumn continued to unfold, the landscape became a canvas of vibrant colors. Chris and Julia took to exploring the nearby forests and countryside, their walks a celebration of the beauty of fall. The trees were ablaze with the rich hues of autumn, their leaves creating a colorful carpet on the forest floor. The crisp, cool air and the gentle light of the season made their outdoor adventures all the more enjoyable. Evenings were marked by the early arrival of twilight and the cooling temperatures. Chris and Julia spent their nights cozying up by the fire, the warmth and light of the flames providing a comforting contrast to the chill of the autumn air. They enjoyed simple pleasures, roasting marshmallows, sipping hot cider, and reflecting on the beauty of the season. One particularly memorable evening, they took a walk through a nearby park that had been transformed into a display of autumnal splendor. The park was adorned with colorful lanterns and decorations, creating a magical atmosphere that celebrated the season. Chris and Julia wandered through the park, their senses delighted by the sights and sounds of fall. The lanterns cast a warm, inviting glow, and the park was alive with the laughter and joy of visitors. As October progressed, the days grew shorter and the nights longer. The transition from autumn to early winter became more pronounced, with the first frosts appearing on the ground. Chris and Julia prepared for the changing temperatures by adding layers to their clothing and adjusting their routines to accommodate the cooler weather. The garden, now largely dormant, became a space for contemplation and reflection. The arrival of November brought with it a sense of quiet anticipation. The last of the leaves had fallen, and the landscape was a study in shades of brown and gray. Chris and Julia continued to enjoy their outdoor activities, their walks through the crisp autumn air a reminder of the season's beauty. They also spent time indoors, preparing for the upcoming winter by organizing their home and ensuring they had everything they needed for the colder months. As Thanksgiving approached, Chris and Julia took the opportunity to reflect on the year's journey. They prepared a special meal, a celebration of the harvest and the abundance of the season. The meal was a simple yet heartfelt expression of their gratitude for the experiences and memories they had shared. The table was adorned with the fruits of their labor, freshly harvested vegetables, homemade pies, and seasonal treats. The changing seasons had been a time of growth and discovery, each one bringing its own unique beauty and experiences. Chris and Julia embraced the transition from autumn to winter with a sense of fulfillment and anticipation. The journey through the year had been a celebration of their love and commitment, and they looked forward to the new adventures and opportunities that awaited them. The whisper of autumn was a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each season. Chris and Julia welcomed the changing temperatures and the arrival of winter with open hearts, ready to embrace the new experiences and joys that the coming season would bring. The world outside was a reflection of the beauty of the seasons, each one a testament to the strength of their bond and the joy of sharing their lives together. Chapter 19. The Stillness of Winter. As November waned and December arrived, winter settled over the landscape with a quiet majesty. The world outside was transformed into a serene, snow-covered expanse, each flake a delicate testament to the beauty of the season. Chris and Julia embraced the arrival of winter with a sense of calm and introspection, their days filled with the stillness and beauty of the snowy world. The mornings were marked by the soft light of dawn breaking through a window blanketed by frost. The house was a cozy haven from the cold, its interior warmed by the gentle crackle of the fireplace. Chris and Julia began their days with the simple pleasures of winter, sipping hot cocoa or tea, wrapped in warm blankets as they watched the snowfall outside. The garden, once a vibrant tapestry of colors, was now a quiet, white canvas. The snowfall had covered it in a thick layer of snow, the only signs of life the occasional track of wildlife moving through the garden. Chris and Julia used this time to plan for the coming year. Their thoughts focused on the changes and improvements they would make once the spring returned. Afternoons were spent exploring the winter wonderland outside. Chris and Julia enjoyed taking long walks through the snow-covered streets and nearby trails. The crisp air and the crunch of snow underfoot created a soothing rhythm, and the world seemed to slow down to match the tranquil pace of the season. The trees, stripped of their leaves, stood tall and silent, their branches heavy with snow. The landscape was a study in shades of white and gray, each scene a reflection of winter's quiet beauty. They also enjoyed winter sports and activities. The nearby lake, frozen solid, became a hub of activity for ice skating. Chris and Julia donned their skates and glided over the ice, their movements graceful and fluid. The frozen lake was a place of joy and fun, its smooth surface a perfect canvas for their winter adventures. They spent hours skating, their laughter and the sound of their skates on the ice creating a cheerful counterpoint to the stillness of the surrounding landscape. Evenings were a time of warmth and reflection. Chris and Julia often spent their nights by the fireplace, the flickering flames casting a warm, golden glow over their cozy home. They enjoyed quiet evenings of reading, knitting, or simply sitting together in the comfort of their home. The snow outside created a peaceful backdrop, the world reduced to a gentle hush by the layer of white that covered everything. As the days grew shorter and the nights longer, Chris and Julia embraced the opportunities for quiet reflection and togetherness. They decorated their home for the holidays, their decorations a blend of traditional and personal touches. The house was adorned with twinkling lights, garlands, and ornaments, creating a festive and inviting atmosphere. The holiday decorations added a touch of cheer and warmth to the winter landscape. The holiday season brought with it a sense of celebration and gratitude. Chris and Julia enjoyed preparing a special holiday meal, their kitchen filled with the scents of roasting meats, baking pies, and simmering stews. The meal was a time to gather together and savor the abundance of the season, each dish a reflection of their love and care. Winter was also a time for creating new traditions. Chris and Julia enjoyed crafting handmade gifts and ornaments, their creative efforts adding a personal touch to the holiday season. They spent time together making these gifts, their shared activity a testament to their bond and their joy in creating something special for each other and their loved ones. As the new year approached, Chris and Julia took time to reflect on the year gone by. They looked back on the seasons they had experienced, the memories they had created, and the growth they had achieved. The transition from one year to the next was a time of introspection and hope, a chance to set new goals and embrace the possibilities of the future. The arrival of January brought with it the quiet stillness of the deep winter. The snow continued to fall gently, creating a pristine blanket over the world. Chris and Julia embraced the season with a sense of peace and contentment, their days marked by the simple pleasures of winter. They spent their time enjoying the beauty of the snow, the warmth of their home, and the joy of each other's company. The world outside was a reflection of the inner stillness and calm that Chris and Julia experienced. The snow-covered landscape was a reminder of the beauty of winter's simplicity and the joy of embracing each season's unique qualities. As they looked forward to the coming year, they did so with a sense of hope and anticipation, ready to embrace the new adventures and experiences that awaited them. Winter had been a time of quiet reflection and deep connection, a season of growth and renewal. Chris and Julia's journey through the winter months was a testament to their love and commitment. Their days filled with the beauty and tranquility of the season. The stillness of winter had provided a backdrop for their shared experiences, a reminder of the strength of their bond and the joy of their life together. As the first signs of spring began to appear, Chris and Julia looked forward to the new chapter of their journey with a sense of excitement and hope. The transition from winter to spring was a celebration of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each new beginning. The world outside was a reflection of their journey, each season a testament to their love and the joy of sharing their lives together. Chapter 20. The Awakening of Spring. As February melted into March, the first signs of spring began to stir in the world outside. The snow, once a thick, immovable blanket, began to retreat, revealing patches of the earth beneath. Chris and Julia greeted the arrival of spring with a sense of renewal and excitement, their hearts light with the promise of new beginnings. The mornings were marked by the gentle warmth of the sun as it began to reclaim its place in the sky. The light of dawn filtered through the still chilly air, casting a soft, golden glow over the landscape. Chris and Julia embraced the changing season by spending their early hours outdoors, their breath visible in the crisp morning air as they eagerly awaited the arrival of spring. The garden, which had been dormant through the winter, began to show the first signs of awakening. Tiny green shoots emerged from the thawing soil, heralding the return of growth and vitality. Chris and Julia eagerly began the task of preparing their garden for the new season. They cleaned up the remnants of winter, turning the soil and planting the first seeds of the year. The garden was a place of anticipation and hope, its transformation a reflection of the season's promise. Afternoons were spent exploring the changes in the world around them. Chris and Julia enjoyed long walks through the countryside, their paths now clear of snow and ice. The landscape was beginning to come alive with the colors and scents of spring. The trees, still bare, were starting to show the first hints of new buds. The air was filled with the sound of chirping birds and the gentle hum of insects emerging from their winter slumber. One particular afternoon, They took a trip to a nearby nature reserve to witness the full splendor of the season's change. The reserve was a sanctuary of blooming flowers and budding trees, its pathways lined with colorful crocuses and snowdrops. Chris and Julia strolled through the reserve, their senses overwhelmed by the beauty and vibrancy of the awakening world. The nature reserve was a celebration of spring, its beauty a testament to the season's power to renew and refresh. Evenings were a time of relaxation and reflection. Chris and Julia enjoyed the soft light of the setting sun, the twilight hours marked by the gentle transition from day to night. They spent their nights outdoors, basking in the increasingly warmer temperatures and savoring the beauty of the springtime sky. The air was filled with the soothing sounds of nature, the songs of crickets, and the occasional call of a nightingale. As March progressed, the garden continued to flourish. The seeds Chris and Julia had planted began to sprout, their growth a tangible reminder of the season's promise. They spent their days tending to the garden, their efforts rewarded with the sight of vibrant green plants pushing through the soil. The garden was a place of joy and pride, its transformation a reflection of their care and dedication. The arrival of April brought with it a sense of exuberance. The world outside was a riot of color, with trees and flowers in full bloom. Chris and Julia embraced the beauty of the season by exploring their town and its surroundings. They visited local parks and gardens, their walks filled with the vibrant sights and sense of spring. Each new destination was a celebration of the season's beauty, its colors and textures a feast for the senses. One memorable outing took them to a nearby botanical garden, where they marveled at the array of blooming flowers and lush greenery. The garden was a showcase of spring's diversity, with each section offering a different experience. Chris and Julia wandered through the garden, their hearts lifted by the beauty and variety of the plants and flowers. The botanical garden was a reminder of the endless possibilities of spring and the joy of discovering new aspects of the natural world. As April turned to May, the garden reached its full potential. The flowers were in full bloom, their petals a vibrant display of color. The vegetable beds were also thriving, with a bountiful harvest of fresh produce. Chris and Julia enjoyed the fruits of their labor, their meals filled with the flavors and textures of the season. The garden had become a source of nourishment and joy, its bounty a testament to their hard work and dedication. The arrival of May brought with it a sense of celebration. Chris and Julia looked forward to the warmer days and the opportunities for new experiences. They continued their exploration of the world around them, their days filled with outdoor adventures and the simple pleasures of spring. Each day was a reminder of the beauty of the season and the joy of sharing their lives together. As spring continued to unfold, Chris and Julia embraced the changing season with a sense of excitement and gratitude. The journey through spring had been a time of renewal and growth, a celebration of the beauty and vitality of the natural world. Their experiences were a testament to their love and commitment, their days filled with the joy of discovering new aspects of life and the world around them. The awakening of spring had been a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each new beginning. Chris and Julia welcomed the season with open hearts, their journey through spring a reflection of their love and the joy of sharing their lives together. As they looked forward to the coming months, they did so with a sense of anticipation and hope, ready to embrace the new experiences and adventures that awaited them. Chapter 21. The Flourish of Summer. As June arrived, summer fully embraced the landscape, transforming the world into a vibrant tapestry of warmth and color. Chris and Julia welcomed the season with enthusiasm, their days marked by the pleasures and activities that summer had to offer. The days grew longer, the sunlight bathing everything in a golden glow, and the warmth of the season infused their lives with a renewed sense of energy. The mornings were filled with the sound of chirping birds and the gentle hum of insects. Chris and Julia began their days with a sense of purpose, eager to embrace the joys of summer. Their morning routine included walks through their garden, which had flourished under the care and attention they had given it. The garden was a riot of colors, with blooming flowers in every shade imaginable and lush greenery that provided a perfect backdrop for their summer activities. The garden was a haven of activity. Chris and Julia spent their time tending to their plants, enjoying the simple pleasure of nurturing their growing vegetables and flowers. They harvested the first fruits of their labor, their hands busy with the tasks of picking ripe tomatoes, cucumbers, and herbs. The harvest was a celebration of their efforts, and they took pride in the bounty their garden provided. The kitchen was often filled with the aromas of fresh produce being prepared for meals, each dish a testament to the season's abundance. Afternoons were spent exploring the outdoors and enjoying the pleasures of summer. Chris and Julia took advantage of the warm weather by engaging in various activities. They spent time by the lake, where the cool water offered a refreshing escape from the heat. The lake was a perfect spot for swimming, and they reveled in the sensation of the water against their skin. The lake also provided opportunities for leisurely boat rides, their small wooden boat gliding across the tranquil surface as they enjoyed the serene beauty of their surroundings. They also took to exploring nearby trails and nature reserves, their hikes offering new vistas and experiences. The landscape was alive with the sights and sounds of summer, and their adventures were filled with the joy of discovering new aspects of the natural world. The trails wound through forests and meadows, each turn revealing a new scene of beauty and tranquility. They paused to enjoy the views, their hearts light with the joy of summer's embrace. The arrival of summer festivals and events brought additional excitement to their lives. Chris and Julia attended local fairs and markets, where they enjoyed the lively atmosphere and the opportunity to connect with their community. The festivals were a celebration of summer, with booths offering local crafts, delicious food, and entertainment. They explored the stalls, sampling treats, and enjoying the vibrant energy of the events. The festivals were a highlight of the season, adding a touch of celebration and joy to their summer days. Evenings were a time of relaxation and enjoyment. Chris and Julia took advantage of the long, warm nights by spending their evenings outdoors. They enjoyed alfresco dining, their meals enjoyed under the stars with the gentle breeze of summer providing a pleasant backdrop. The table was often adorned with fresh produce from their garden, and the meals were a celebration of the season's flavors. Summer nights were also marked by the beauty of the sky. Chris and Julia enjoyed stargazing, their evenings spent lying on blankets as they admired the constellations. The sky was a canvas of stars, each one a reminder of the vastness and beauty of the universe. They spent hours watching shooting stars and sharing their thoughts and dreams under the night sky. One particularly memorable evening, they hosted a summer gathering with friends and family. The gathering was held in their garden, the space adorned with lanterns and decorations that created a festive and inviting atmosphere. The event was a celebration of summer and togetherness, with food, laughter, and music creating a joyful experience for all. The garden was filled with the sounds of happy conversation and the clinking of glasses, each moment a reminder of the joy of shared experiences. As August approached, the heat of summer remained, but there was also a subtle shift in the air. The days, while still warm, began to show the first signs of the approaching transition. The light of the sun grew slightly softer, and the evenings began to cool down more noticeably. Chris and Julia embraced the final weeks of summer with a sense of fulfillment and gratitude. Their days filled with the last of the season's pleasures. They continued their outdoor adventures, their walks and hikes offering a chance to savor the beauty of summer's final moments. The garden, now in full bloom, provided a picturesque setting for their daily activities. They took time to enjoy the simple pleasures of summer, their hearts full of the joy and contentment that the season had brought them. As summer gave way to the first hints of autumn, Chris and Julia prepared for the transition. They began to reflect on the experiences and memories of the season, their hearts filled with gratitude for the joy and beauty that summer had provided. The journey through summer had been a celebration of life and love, each day a testament to the strength of their bond and the joy of sharing their lives together. The world outside was a reflection of the changing season, each moment a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each phase. Chris and Julia looked forward to the coming months with a sense of anticipation and hope, ready to embrace the new experiences and adventures that awaited them. The flourish of summer had been a testament to their love and commitment, a season of joy and fulfillment that would remain a cherished memory as they moved forward into the next chapter of their lives. Chapter 22. The Mellowing of Autumn. As September waned and October arrived, the vibrant colors of summer gradually gave way to the rich, warm tones of autumn. Chris and Julia embraced the mellowing of the season with a sense of nostalgia and contentment, their days marked by the beauty and tranquility that autumn brought. The mornings were crisp and invigorating, the air filled with the scent of fallen leaves and the faint hint of wood smoke from chimneys. Chris and Julia began their days with leisurely walks through the town and countryside, their steps crunching over the carpet of leaves that covered the ground. The landscape was a tapestry of autumn hues, golden yellows, fiery reds, and deep browns. The trees stood in majestic splendor, their branches heavy with the weight of their colorful foliage. The garden, now past its peak, was a place of reflection. Chris and Julia spent their time preparing it for the winter months. They gathered the last of the autumn harvest, their hands busy with the task of picking ripe pumpkins, squash, and apples. The vegetables were stored away, and the flower beds were cleaned up, their vibrant blooms now faded. The garden became a space of quiet contemplation, its transition mirroring the changing season. Afternoons were spent enjoying the gentle beauty of autumn. Chris and Julia took to exploring nearby forests and trails, their hikes offering a chance to immerse themselves in the season's splendor. The trails were lined with a colorful mosaic of leaves, each step a reminder of the fleeting beauty of autumn. They paused to admire the panoramic views, the rolling hills and valleys painted in rich autumnal colors. The crisp air was invigorating, and the changing light cast a soft, golden glow over the landscape. Chris and Julia enjoyed the simple pleasures of autumn: picnics in the park, leisurely bike rides, and visits to local farms and markets. The seasonal markets offered a bounty of produce and crafts, their stalls adorned with pumpkins, apples, and handmade goods. They wandered through the markets, savoring the sights and smells of autumn, their hearts full of the season's warmth. One afternoon, they visited a nearby orchard to participate in apple picking. The orchard was a picturesque landscape of rows upon rows of apple trees, their branches heavy with ripe fruit. Chris and Julia spent hours in the orchard, their baskets filling with the crisp, sweet apples. The orchard was a place of joy and connection, its beauty a reminder of the abundance of the season. As October progressed, the daylight hours grew shorter and the nights began to cool down. Chris and Julia adjusted their routines to accommodate the changing temperatures, their evenings spent cozying up by the fireplace. The warmth of the flames provided a comforting contrast to the chill of the autumn air, and the nights were filled with the soft glow of the fire and the gentle crackle of burning logs. The evenings were also a time for enjoying seasonal activities. Chris and Julia took pleasure in preparing autumn-themed meals: hearty soups, roasted vegetables, and spiced desserts. The kitchen was filled with the aromas of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, each meal a celebration of the flavors of autumn. They enjoyed these meals together, their hearts warmed by the food and the company. One particularly memorable evening was spent carving pumpkins for Halloween. The process was a joyful and creative activity, with Chris and Julia designing and carving intricate patterns into their pumpkins. The pumpkins were placed on the porch, their flickering candlelight casting a warm, inviting glow. The festive decorations added a touch of cheer to the season, and the evening was filled with the satisfaction of creating something special together. As November arrived, the transition from autumn to winter became more pronounced. The leaves had mostly fallen, leaving the trees bare and the landscape in shades of gray and brown. The air grew colder, and the first frosts of the season appeared on the ground. Chris and Julia embraced the changing weather with a sense of anticipation, preparing for the colder months ahead. The garden was now a place of rest, its dormant state a reminder of the cyclical nature of life. Chris and Julia spent their time organizing and planning for the future, their thoughts focused on the changes and improvements they would make in the coming year. They also took the opportunity to reflect on the year gone by, their hearts full of gratitude for the experiences and memories they had created. The arrival of Thanksgiving brought with it a sense of celebration and reflection. Chris and Julia prepared a special meal, a feast that showcased the bounty of the autumn harvest. The table was adorned with seasonal decorations, and the meal was a celebration of gratitude and togetherness. The Thanksgiving dinner was a time to gather and appreciate the abundance of the season, each dish a testament to their love and care. As November progressed, the world outside continued to shift towards winter. The days grew shorter and the nights longer, with the chill of winter beginning to make its presence felt. Chris and Julia prepared for the transition, adjusting their routines and embracing the final moments of autumn with a sense of fulfillment and contentment. The mellowing of autumn was a time of quiet reflection and appreciation. Chris and Julia's journey through the season had been a celebration of the beauty and tranquility of fall, each day a reminder of the strength of their bond and the joy of sharing their lives together. As they looked forward to the coming winter, they did so with a sense of anticipation and hope, ready to embrace the new experiences and adventures that awaited them. Chapter 23: The Embrace of Winter. As December unfolded, winter's grip tightened, transforming the world into a wonderland of frost and snow. The days grew shorter and the nights longer, with the soft glow of twilight casting a serene light over the landscape. Chris and Julia welcomed the arrival of winter with a sense of peace and contentment, their days marked by the quiet beauty and coziness of the season. The mornings began with a crisp, invigorating chill that filled the air. Chris and Julia embraced the cold with warmth in their hearts, their breath visible in the frosty air as they ventured outside to admire the winter wonderland that had enveloped their surroundings. The landscape was a pristine blanket of snow, each flake a testament to the season's delicate beauty. The trees, heavy with snow, stood in silent majesty, their branches adorned with a glistening layer of frost. Their home, a cozy refuge from the cold, was transformed into a haven of warmth and comfort. The fireplace crackled with a welcoming glow, its flames casting a soft, golden light over the room. Chris and Julia spent their time by the fire, enjoying the soothing warmth and the gentle, rhythmic sound of the burning logs. The space was adorned with festive decorations, wreaths, garlands, and twinkling lights that added a touch of cheer to the winter nights. Afternoons were spent enjoying the serene beauty of the snowy landscape. Chris and Julia took long walks through the snow-covered streets and trails, their steps leaving a trail of footprints behind them. The world was hushed by the snow, the only sounds the crunch of their boots and the distant call of birds. They reveled in the tranquility of winter, their hearts light with the joy of the season. The garden, now a snow-covered expanse, was a place of quiet reflection. Chris and Julia took time to prepare it for the coming year. Their efforts focused on maintaining the garden's health through the winter months. They mulched the beds, ensuring that the soil would be ready for the spring's new growth. The garden, though dormant, was a symbol of the cyclical nature of life and the promise of renewal that lay ahead. One memorable afternoon was spent building a snowman in their garden. The snow was perfect for sculpting, and Chris and Julia worked together to create a cheerful snowman, complete with a carrot nose, coal eyes, and a colorful scarf. The snowman stood as a festive decoration, its presence a reminder of the joy and playfulness of winter. They took pleasure in the simple activity, their laughter and happiness adding to the warmth of the season. The winter nights were a time of relaxation and togetherness. Chris and Julia enjoyed cozying up under blankets, their evenings filled with the gentle light of candles and the soft glow of holiday lights. They spent their nights reading, knitting, or simply enjoying each other's company. The tranquility of winter nights was a contrast to the hustle and bustle of the outside world, and they cherished the quiet moments spent together. The holiday season brought with it a sense of celebration and gratitude. Chris and Julia decorated their home with festive ornaments, their decorations a blend of traditional and personal touches. The Christmas tree stood adorned with twinkling lights and colorful ornaments, its presence a symbol of the joy and warmth of the season. They spent time preparing holiday treats and meals, the kitchen filled with the aromas of gingerbread, cinnamon, and roasted meats. Each dish was a reflection of their love and care, and the holiday meals were enjoyed with a sense of contentment and togetherness. As December progressed, Chris and Julia took the opportunity to reflect on the year gone by. The winter season was a time for introspection and gratitude, a chance to appreciate the experiences and memories they had created. They looked back on the seasons they had shared, the adventures they had undertaken, and the growth they had achieved. The transition from one year to the next was a time of hope and anticipation, a chance to set new goals and embrace the possibilities of the future. The arrival of New Year's Eve was marked by a sense of celebration and reflection. Chris and Julia prepared for the evening with a sense of joy and anticipation, their home filled with the warmth of festivity. They enjoyed a special meal, their table adorned with candles and decorations that created a festive atmosphere. The evening was spent reminiscing about the past year and looking forward to the new one, their hearts full of hope and excitement for the future. As the clock struck midnight, they took a moment to embrace the new year. The world outside was silent and still, the snow-covered landscape bathed in the soft light of the moon. Chris and Julia stood together, their hearts filled with gratitude and joy as they welcomed the promise of the coming year. The transition from one year to the next was a celebration of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each new beginning. The winter season continued to unfold with its quiet beauty. Chris and Julia embraced the days with a sense of peace and contentment, their lives marked by the tranquility and warmth of winter. They looked forward to the coming months with a sense of anticipation and hope, ready to embrace the new experiences and adventures that awaited them. The embrace of winter had been a time of reflection and renewal, a season of quiet beauty and deep connection. Chris and Julia's journey through the winter months was a testament to their love and commitment, their days filled with the joy of sharing their lives together. As they looked ahead to the new year, they did so with a sense of excitement and hope, ready to embrace the possibilities and adventures that awaited them. Chapter 24: The Promise of New Beginnings. As January deepened and February approached, the world outside remained in its winter embrace. Chris and Julia continued to revel in the serenity of the season, their lives marked by the quiet beauty and introspection that winter offered. The days, though still cold and short, were filled with a sense of anticipation and hope for the future. The mornings were a crisp, invigorating experience. Chris and Julia began their days with early walks through the snow-covered landscape, their paths illuminated by the soft, pale light of dawn. The world was still and serene, the snow-covered ground sparkling under the first light of day. The air was filled with the soothing sound of their footsteps crunching through the snow, each step a reminder of the tranquility and peace of winter. Their home remained a warm and inviting refuge from the cold. The fireplace continued to crackle with its comforting glow, the flames dancing and casting a soft light over the room. Chris and Julia enjoyed spending their evenings by the fire, wrapped in cozy blankets and surrounded by the comforting warmth of their home. The nights were marked by the gentle hum of the fire and the soft glow of candles, creating a soothing and peaceful atmosphere. Afternoons were spent indulging in winter activities and enjoying the seasonal beauty. Chris and Julia took to exploring nearby parks and trails, their walks offering a chance to admire the serene beauty of the winter landscape. The trees, stripped of their leaves, stood in stark contrast to the pure whiteness of the snow, their branches adorned with delicate icicles that sparkled in the sunlight. One particularly memorable afternoon was spent visiting a nearby frozen lake. The lake, covered with a thick layer of ice, provided a perfect opportunity for ice skating and other winter activities. Chris and Julia enjoyed gliding across the ice, their movements smooth and graceful against the pristine surface. The lake was a place of joy and connection, its frozen expanse a testament to the beauty and fun of winter. As February approached, Chris and Julia began to prepare for the transition to spring. They used the winter months as a time for planning and reflection, their thoughts focused on the changes and new beginnings that lay ahead. They spent time organizing their home, making plans for their garden, and setting goals for the coming year. The winter season was a time of preparation and anticipation, a chance to ready themselves for the new experiences and opportunities that spring would bring. The cold nights continued, but Chris and Julia found warmth and comfort in their routines. They enjoyed special winter meals, the kitchen filled with the aromas of hearty stews, warming soups, and freshly baked bread. The meals were a reflection of the season's flavors and a celebration of their love for each other. Each dish was prepared with care and enjoyed with a sense of contentment and satisfaction. As February progressed, the first hints of spring began to appear. The days grew slightly longer, and the light of the sun grew warmer. The snow began to melt, revealing patches of earth and the promise of new growth. Chris and Julia eagerly anticipated the arrival of spring, their hearts filled with hope and excitement for the new season. One afternoon, they took a trip to a nearby botanical garden to witness the early signs of spring. The garden, though still covered in snow, showed the first signs of awakening. Crocuses and snowdrops pushed through the remaining snow, their delicate blooms a promise of the vibrant colors to come. Chris and Julia marveled at the beauty and resilience of the early flowers, their presence a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the renewal that spring would bring. The winter season continued to offer its quiet beauty and tranquility, but Chris and Julia were filled with a sense of anticipation for the coming changes. They embraced the final weeks of winter with a sense of gratitude and hope, their days marked by the joy of preparing for the new season. The transition from winter to spring was a time of reflection and renewal, a chance to embrace the possibilities and opportunities that lay ahead. As February drew to a close, Chris and Julia took time to reflect on the year that had passed and the journey they had shared. The winter months had been a time of introspection and growth, a season of quiet beauty and deep connection. They looked back on the experiences and memories they had created, their hearts full of gratitude for the love and joy that had defined their lives. The promise of new beginnings was on the horizon, and Chris and Julia eagerly anticipated the arrival of spring. The changing season was a symbol of renewal and growth, a chance to embrace new opportunities and experiences. They looked forward to the coming months with a sense of excitement and hope, ready to welcome the beauty and vitality of spring into their lives. The journey through winter had been a testament to their love and commitment, each day a reflection of their deep connection and shared experiences. As they prepared for the transition to spring, Chris and Julia did so with a sense of joy and anticipation, ready to embrace the new adventures and possibilities that awaited them. The promise of new beginnings was a reminder of the cyclical nature of life and the beauty of embracing each new season with open hearts and hopeful spirits. Chapter 25. The Bloom of Spring. As March transitioned into April, the world began to awaken from its winter slumber, ushering in the vibrant colors and fresh energy of spring. Chris and Julia welcomed the new season with open hearts, their days filled with the joy and renewal that spring brought. The days grew longer, the sunlight warmer, and the landscape transformed into a canvas of blossoming beauty. The mornings were a symphony of sounds and scents. The air was filled with the gentle hum of bees and the melodious songs of returning birds. Chris and Julia began their days with early walks through the burgeoning landscape, their steps guiding them through a world coming to life. The snow had melted away, revealing the first signs of green as shoots and buds emerged from the earth. The once barren trees were adorned with delicate blossoms, their branches swaying gently in the spring breeze. The garden, now a canvas of potential, became the focus of their efforts. Chris and Julia spent their time preparing it for the growing season. They cleared away the remnants of winter, tilled the soil, and planted seeds with careful attention. The garden was a place of hope and renewal, each planting a promise of the beauty and abundance that would unfold in the coming months. The soil was rich and welcoming, its surface a fertile ground for the new life that was about to emerge. Afternoons were spent immersing themselves in the splendor of spring. Chris and Julia took to exploring nearby parks and nature reserves, their hikes offering a chance to witness the transformative power of the season. The landscape was a riot of colors: daffodils, tulips, and hyacinths in full bloom, their vibrant hues contrasting with the fresh, green foliage of the trees. The air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers and the soft rustle of leaves. One particularly memorable afternoon was spent visiting a botanical garden, where the full glory of spring was on display. The garden was a feast for the senses, with its winding paths and meticulously curated displays of flowering plants and shrubs. Chris and Julia wandered through the garden, their eyes taking in the beauty of the carefully arranged blooms and their noses savoring the fragrant air. The garden was a celebration of the season, its vibrant colors and delicate fragrances a reminder of the renewal and growth that spring represented. As April progressed, the days grew warmer, and the world continued to blossom. Chris and Julia took advantage of the pleasant weather by spending their time outdoors. They enjoyed picnics in the park, their meals enjoyed under the shade of blooming trees. The park was alive with families and friends, its green spaces filled with laughter and joy. Chris and Julia reveled in the lively atmosphere, their hearts light with the happiness of spring. The garden continued to thrive under their care. Chris and Julia watched with anticipation as their plants began to sprout and grow. The garden was a testament to their efforts, each new leaf and flower a reflection of their dedication. They spent their afternoons tending to their plants, watering and weeding with a sense of fulfillment and pride. The garden was a source of joy and connection, its growth a symbol of the love and care they had invested. The arrival of May brought with it a sense of culmination and celebration. The garden was now in full bloom, its beds overflowing with a rich tapestry of colors and textures. Chris and Julia hosted a spring gathering, inviting friends and family to share in the joy of the season. The event was held in their garden, the space adorned with fresh flowers and decorations that created a festive and inviting atmosphere. The gathering was a celebration of spring's abundance, with a feast of seasonal dishes and treats. The table was filled with fresh salads, roasted vegetables, and delicious pastries, each dish a testament to the season's flavors. The guests enjoyed the meal in the garden, their conversations and laughter mingling with the gentle hum of the spring air. The gathering was a reminder of the joy of shared experiences and the beauty of celebrating the changing seasons with loved ones. As May drew to a close, Chris and Julia took time to reflect on the journey through spring. The season had been a time of renewal and growth, a period marked by the transformation of the world around them and the blossoming of their own lives. They looked back on the experiences and memories they had created, their hearts full of gratitude for the beauty and joy of spring. The transition from spring to summer was on the horizon, and Chris and Julia embraced it with a sense of anticipation and hope. The world was alive with the promise of new adventures and opportunities, and they looked forward to the coming season with excitement and joy. The bloom of spring had been a testament to their love and commitment, each day a celebration of the beauty and renewal that the season had brought. As they prepared for the arrival of summer, Chris and Julia did so with a sense of fulfillment and contentment. The journey through spring had been a reflection of their deep connection and shared experiences, each moment a reminder of the strength of their bond and the joy of embracing each new season together. The promise of summer was a new chapter, and they eagerly anticipated the adventures and experiences that awaited them in the months ahead.